We have this idea that a high IQ score is the ultimate badge of honor, right? Like it's proof you're a genius. But is it really that simple? Let's dive into this because the real story is so much more interesting than just a single number. It all really starts with this paradox that I'm sure you've seen before. You know that person who is absolutely brilliant on paper? They can ace any test you throw at them, but then in real life, they make some just unbelievably bad decisions. How does that happen? This question, it gets right to the heart of what being smart even means. I mean, take this famous example, George W. Bush. His IQ was estimated to be over 120. Now, that puts him in the top 10% of the entire population. And yet, you have quotes like this one, where he's described as glib, incurious, and, as a result, ill-informed. And look, this isn't about politics. It's about this fundamental disconnect between what a test score says and how someone actually thinks and acts in the real world. So to really understand that disconnect, we first have to tackle what I like to call the IQ score illusion. This idea that one little number can possibly capture the whole complex picture of our minds. Here's where it gets really interesting. Psychologists make this super important distinction. On one hand, you've got psychometric intelligence. That's the specific kind of nerdy stuff that IQ tests are designed to measure, things like abstract logic and recognizing patterns. But then you've got everyday smarts, which is, what we actually use to make good decisions, handle social stuff, and just think critically about our own lives. They're not the same thing. David Perkins, a researcher over at Harvard, just nails it with this analogy. He says a high IQ is like being tall if you're a basketball player. Is it a huge advantage? Of course, no question. But it doesn't automatically make you a great player. There's so much more to the game, right? You need court vision, teamwork, you need to practice. And in the same way, there is so much more to being a good thinker than just having a high IQ. Okay, so let's actually pull back the curtain and look inside the test itself. Because once you see what an IQ test is actually made of, that single number starts to look, well, even more misleading. This, right here, illustrates the problem perfectly. A single IQ score can be a massive, massive oversimplification. Just imagine your hair is literally on fire, but your feet are stuck in a bucket of ice. Your average body temperature might be perfectly normal, but you're in some serious trouble, right? It's the same with our minds. If some of your mental skills are blazing hot and others are ice cold, just averaging them out tells you nothing about the fire or the ice. And here is the proof. This is the WISC-5. It's considered the gold standard of IQ tests. And as you can see, it's not measuring just one thing. It's a bundle of 5 totally different index scores. It measures everything from your verbal skills to your processing speed. So that single IQ number everyone talks about, it's just an average of all these very, very different abilities. So this brings up a pretty big question. What about all the crucial mental skills that these IQ tests don't even try to measure? Oh, I love this analogy. Think of your mind like a powerful searchlight. Your IQ, that's just the wattage. It's how bright the beam is. But rational thinking, that's about where you point the searchlight. You could have the most powerful, blindingly bright searchlight in the world, but if you only ever shine it on your own beliefs and never bother to check the other side of an argument, what good is all that brightness? The psychologist Robert Sternberg, he came up with this much broader model. He said there are really 3 parts. You've got analytical intelligence, your classic book smarts, which IQ tests are pretty good at measuring. But they completely miss creative intelligence, how well you handle new situations, and practical intelligence, basically street smarts, which is all about how you adapt and get by in the real world. Now, to be fair, this whole debate is pretty complex. Not everyone agrees that IQ is so limited. Back in 1997, dozens of really prominent researchers signed this statement. They argued that there's a general intelligence factor, what they call G, that IQ tests measure, and that it's a very real and very meaningful thing, even if it's not the whole story. All right, let's drill down even deeper now into the actual mechanics of our thinking. There are 2 really crucial components that kind of function like the engine of our mind: processing speed and working memory. Processing speed is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's how fast your brain works. And the most important thing to get here, like it says on the screen, is that it is not the same as intelligence. You can have an incredibly high IQ, but have a slower processing speed. It just means it might take you a little bit longer to get to that brilliant idea. And then you've got working memory. The easiest way to think about this is like it's your brain's mental desktop, or maybe the RAM in your computer. It's the information you can hold in your head and actively mess with at any one time. It's absolutely essential for any kind of complex thinking, and as we're about to see, it's also surprisingly limited. Okay, now get this. This is fascinating. Some researchers tested ChatGPT on a classic working memory test, and what they found was a pattern that looks, well, remarkably human. As the task gets just a little bit harder, as you can see in the chart, its performance just falls off a cliff. Sound familiar? That's exactly what happens to us. So just stop and think about what that means for a second. Even one of the most advanced AIs on the entire planet has a working memory bottleneck that looks a whole lot like ours. This probably isn't just some weird coincidence. It suggests there might be some kind of fundamental limit to how much information any system can actively juggle at once, whether that system is built from silicon chips or brain cells. Okay, so let's put all these pieces together. If that single IQ score is an illusion, what's a better, more useful way to think about being smart? The best way I've found to think about it is this. Your mind isn't a speedometer with just one needle for smartness. It's a dashboard with a whole panel of different gauges, just like you see here. Yeah, there's a gauge for analytical IQ, but there are also gauges for rational thinking, for creativity, for practical intelligence, for processing speed, and for working memory. We get so fixated on that one IQ gauge, probably because it's easy to measure, but true intelligence, that's about understanding your entire dashboard. So, that really just leaves us with one final question. We spend so much time and energy obsessing over that one IQ gauge. But if your mind is a dashboard with all these different instruments, which gauges are you paying attention to? And maybe more importantly, which ones might be worth working on?